All right, hello and welcome to the Down Under Networks coverage of the Las Vegas Nopen. Here we are into battle round 6. We have Liam Hackett, the current Australian master, up against Aron Green. We have the Chaos Space Marines up against Goth. Shout out to... Oh, got a bit of an audio refeed there. Sorry about that if you heard that. So coming into this, we will pretty big game this one, pretty exciting times. Liam coming off a recent win at the Adelaide Uprising event as the Australian master there, and then coming second to Art of War's very own Matt Morrisoli in the Open, the 96-player event last weekend, using this very list that we see here. So exciting to see how he goes with it here. We haven't seen him play up against something like this at the moment. Aron Green is bringing a bucket load of orcs. He's bringing all the orcs. As you can see on the top of the table, he has completely filled that Dawn of War deployment zone there, just full of orcs. Right, so we are going to go through and have a look at the secondaries here. This is, again, as it was the previous game, the overrun mission. Looking through at the secondaries, Liam Hackett, he has taken Raise the Banners. He has taken While We Stand We Fight, and he has taken Linebreaker. Aron Green on the Goth set. He has taken Raise the Banners, he has taken Assassinate, and he has taken Linebreaker. All right, for those following on from Adelaide the previous weekend, these are some very, very common secondaries that were taken by Liam. We know he likes to take that While We Stand We Fight, which are his 3 big possess units. He's going to be doing a lot of damage with them. If they are around at the end of the game, it's pretty much guaranteed that Liam has got a big, big win. So it'll be interesting to see whether these orcs can chew through them. We know there were a few times last week at Adelaide that Liam was down to very small numbers left, 3 very small numbers. In a couple of instances, he was actually able to lose 2 units and still come away with a win. Very, very interesting here. I don't know. We've had a roll off to see who's going first. I'll just check in with the boys on that. They're about to do it now. So cast your eyes sort of right there, the dice box going off. We'll be able to tell you who is getting first turn. All right, so a common trend here. Neither of these boys actually want turn 1. So you don't win the roll-off to go first in 9th edition. You lose the roll-off to go first. All right, so Liam has very gracefully lost the roll-off there. Obviously, maximum happiness there. We will see Aron Green and these orcs taking turn 1 without a choice. Very, very harsh. As we know, this new FAQ, very interesting to see how we go with that turn 5, with Liam having the ability to move these possessed at the end of the game turn. All right, so just a bit of a description here of what is happening on the table going into the top of the top of turn 1 here. Aron Green taking it away. On the left-hand side of the table, he has 5 Storm Boys. Inside of that is where he begins the Green Tide. Starting from the left, he has Orc Boys all the way from the left-hand side of the table to the right-hand side of the table. These are all Scar Boys, so they're strength 5 on the attack, putting out a lot of high-quality damage. They have Gazgul there, excuse me, sitting right in the center of the table, getting those +1 attacks onto all of those units around him. Aron has become prolific at making sure that he is getting a lot of bonuses out of Gaz there. All right, bit of chatter in the chat. Is there a YouTube channel for this game as well? And if so, can you link it or only on Twitch? The feed that we're doing right now is only on Twitch for the Down Under Net 40 Zadata War Down Under. There are some YouTube affiliates going on that we're running through, so maybe have a look through them. I don't really have a link off the top of my head. All right, Nuremberg. Last time I took on Aron's Orcs, I got schooled. So many boys. Yeah, I do believe he's only lost a couple of times with this list. One would be to Lamb at Masters. The other time, possibly, I think Dan Savage. So yeah, Lamb's. Aron's very grateful for me to point that out for you all at home there. All right, so the aggression starts here from Aron nice and early. There's not much else these boys can do, but it's going to be a blender. We are going to see a fight fest right in the middle of this table here. It's going to get messy. It's going to get dirty, but that's what orcs and these dirty traders like to do. So those Storm boys are heading down the left-hand side of the table there, looking at Aron's objectives. He has not taken deploy scramblers. I thought maybe that would be why they were heading down there, but that is definitely not the case there. It could be that he's slowly breaking them down there to get some line breaker points in later turns, because Liam has left that section of the table on the left-hand side completely open. It's an interesting list that Liam has here. It's got a lot of board control, but in saying that, he does need to keep the units together and in coherency at all times to get the maximum benefit of that. So it will be interesting to see if, with this objective layout, whether he can keep those buffs from the characters and the tendrils from the possessed units that he likes to spread out and control the board all intact in one go. All right, so looking at Liam here, start of the turn, he's done some buffs and some prayers to his false gods there. He has got some special buffs. Hold on, I forgot what he said. He's only just told me. Okay. All right, so sorry about that. The buffs that he's got there, every unit of possess in that aura AoE now has reroll to hit, and one of the units there have +1 damage. So now, thanks to Faith and Fury. So very interesting to see how he goes with that. He obviously knows that Aron's going to get stuck into him very early. Hold on tight, because it's going to be a rumble. So it'll be interesting to see what continues here. So that left hand flank there for Liam is completely open. There is nothing in that building on the left hand side in the ruin, due to him needing to keep all of his units together due to get the buffs and whatnot that they need to get. So it'll be interesting to see if Aron can make some kind of play on to jump there and get some kind of flank move going from the left hand side of the table coming into the right. Maybe if he can get Liam to move forward, control a bit of that center table. If he can do that, maybe leave the backfield open and Aron can get some backdoor access in there. Interesting to see. All right, so that is the end of Aron's turn 1. So he has just moved forward as little as he can. So it was a bit surprising there. Maybe we won't see the big bloodbath that I was anticipating. What he has done on all 3 of those objectives is that he has raised the banners. So it's looking like Aron is playing a bit of a tactics game. He is making Liam come to him and bring the fight to him. If he wants those points, he's going to have to take it from him. Right. So what do we got going on in the chat? What do people think is going to happen here? How do they think Aaron is able to make best use of his orcs against this giant triple possess bomb? Right. So going into Liam's turn 1 now. All right. Apparently Eric is bullying Liam on the stream. It's apparently needs to be public knowledge. More than likely it'll continue tomorrow on the tabletop tomorrow. So if Liam is able to get through here, he may get bullied again. So he probably should get used to it. All right, so some pretty small movements here that we're seeing from Liam. All right, so Shorty 122 here in the chat. It's got look like they both want to charge first, but if Orcs don't go, Liam wins. Well, interesting choice there. Aaron has obviously decided to sit back and sit on those 3 banners at the moment and rack up those primaries. So it will be interesting to see. Obviously, Aaron has a couple of little ways that he can get out there and he can take some of the primaries off Liam. So he might be able to get ahead on the primary. Whether or not Liam can match him is something we'll be able to see. We know that those giant units of possess that he have there are not obsec. Up against a billion obsec boys are just going to flood the table eventually. So it'll be interesting to see. We have a bunch of cultists in this list here. They have been put into reserve. So obviously that is obviously why those left-hand side, we see those Storm Boys there just spacing out the table, stopping those cultists be able to come into the deployment zone there. Yeah, sure. I think you definitely are right there. Both people want to get the charge off. Both people want to dictate terms of that combat because majority of these boys here are only going to be able to do damage in the combat phase. Right, so majority of this game currently is just a little bit of positioning going on. Both boys sort of sizing each other and feeling each other out, seeing how this game is going to progress. Right, so on the right-hand side of the table there, Liam is trying to get some powers off. It seems to be failing though for him. He's trying to get some buffs and some feel no pains on the right-hand side, but we've actually had a perils of the warp go off. So it's a bit of a rough start. A bit of a rough start there for Liam. Right, so that is actually an end. Oh, yeah. That is actually an end to turn 1 for Liam. So both boys have sat on the 3 objectives. Liam has raised 2 banners. So I'll get a score update for you as fast as I can. It is a very close, very, very odd positioning game from these two. Not the bloodbath that I had anticipated. Right, so we are back and we are going into the beginning of turn two with Aron going first there. So we'll do a bit of a rattle off the scores. So we are seeing Liam Hackett currently at the end of his turn one. He raised 2 banners for a total of 2 VP, and Aron Green has raised 3 banners for a total of 3. So it's turning out to be quite the tactical game. Early scoring game, very low currently at the moment. All right. So looking at the chat here, Anna City, sorry, mate, Chitty, I've got you there. Are you? Oh, this is a possessed list. Yes, it is, mate. Are the possessed marked at all? Yes, I do believe they've got the Marcus Slanesh. Yep, they're all Marcus Slanesh there. Liam is telling me right now. All right, and the reason he is doing that because his HQ Selesky, she is giving off a charge and advance aura. So giving out a few little buffs there. That's what makes these possessed so fast and able to use them to control the entire table. All right, so looking at Aron's turn two, he's still really holding back. We're not getting the aggressive push that we saw. If you look on the left-hand side of the table there, we are slowly getting a bit of a shuffle here. So it could be a fact that he's trying to get it into a bit of a vanguard deployment. So we know at a lot of the team events that we saw him at recently, and even Masters, he was able to sort of shuffle all across the one sort of side, make it a bit of a vanguard / hammer and anvil deployment, move his way across the table, and then to jump and sort of scare people into going to the other side of the table. Looking at the left-hand side of the table, right at the very bottom corner, you can't quite see it, but he has a bunch of boys that have walked on from the board edge, I do believe, and he also have a bunch of Storm boys. So he has 2 units there sitting in the corner as far away from Liam's units as he possibly could, sitting there to help rack up some line breaker points. So it's not quite a smash face, obviously, as we prepared. We're seeing a very smart Orc General here pick apart possibly this possessed list. So we're going to have to stay tuned and see what's going on because this is a bit of a nail biter that we're coming in for. All right, Shorty, 1, 2, 2. How many of those Storm Boys died on the side? Currently, he still has a unit of 3 sitting there, so only 2 have been removed at the moment. We do not have a lot of shooting firepower coming out of Liam's list. So we're still looking at Aron's movement phase here. A little bit of joisting and jousting and positioning here. He's moving very, very slowly forward here. Um, Obviously, he's raised all those banners on the backfield. It'll be quite difficult for Liam to be able to come in and take those banners down. He does have 30 cultists sitting in reserve. So late game, he may be able to come and get them if that's something that Liam leaves open, some back pockets to be able to get onto the back of the board there. Damage-wise, not a lot is going on at the moment either, damage-wise, because there's a fair bit of possessed, obviously still sitting in their own deployment zone. Not a lot of shooting from this Orc army that Aron's got here. It's definitely a combat army. So we might not see a game here of mass losses. We might actually see majority of these armies still around at the end on turn 5. What do we think in the chat? What do you reckon here? What do you think about this positioning from both players? A bit of a cat and mouse that's going on. If you were in charge of one of these armies, would you commit early? Would you be happy to leave yourself out in the open, I guess, because Aron going first, obviously, he can't get that turn 1 charge off. Liam's obviously cagey. He's a bit back. He's doing some pre-measurings. He's making sure he is out of all charge ranges from Aron there. Very interesting to see how he uses Gazgol here. Obviously not a lot of shooting. There's a little bit of smite powers coming off from Liam, but he's not going to be able to effectively get rid of Gaz in a couple of turns easily. All right, a little bit of shooting here now. So Gaz is doing some shooting just into some best. Pardon me, into some possessed there, just trying to whittle them down. Liam seems to have taken one soul wound. Just one wound, a salty wound, as Aron has pointed out. All right, so that is going to be the end of... Looks like that's going to be the end of turn 1 for Aron. So yeah, very, very fast-paced game, actually, because there's not a lot of action going on. It's basically a bit of a cat and mouse. All right, so actually, sorry, it is not the end of Aron's turn. We have just seen 2 Stormboards be picked up from the right-hand side of the table. So they are being whittled down. Very lucky there, because Aron is really counting on them to get that line breaker, to get those line breaker points. So he'll be very thankful that he still has 1 Stormborn remaining in that bottom left-hand side. Right, so we are going into Liam's turn 2 here. All right, so going into the start of Liam's turn 2 here. So we're going to do a bit of a brief score update here. So we are looking at Liam Hackett. He is currently sitting on 10 for the primary and 2 for raised banners for a total of 12. Aron Green with that sneaky little line breaker play, being able to keep a couple of those Storm Boys alive on that left-hand side of the table. He has got 4 for line breaker and 3 for raised banners for a 17. So going into the top of turn 2, Liam Hackett is currently trailing by 5 points. Right, so we are looking at that possess unit now. This is where it starts to take shape. This is where the excitement and the intrigue comes from Liam's list. He is able to use some big tendrils here. He is keeping that unit on the left-hand side. He is using that to keep in the middle of the board on the right where that big cluster of possessed is, surrounding the sorcerer and Selesky herself to make sure that all 3 of those units are completely getting as many buffs as possible. They are going through that ruin on the left-hand side of the table they are making a play. They are making sure that Aron cannot continue to rack up those line breaker points, because we know at 4 points per turn, it will not take Aron more than a couple of turns of that just to be able to get a bit of a commanding lead there on secondaries there, especially with Aron already sneaking ahead on a couple of Razor banner points. Yes, mentioning there that the Orcs can't hit very well in shooting. So a nice rush of possess could be scary. Yes, I think that's why we're seeing the cat and mouse deployment and movement options of both these players here. Neither one wants to be the first to commit. If one of them is first to commit, they no doubt will get countercharged. They are sitting across the table from each other as far as they can. If Aron is to nudge just too far forward from his Orcs and the abilities with the advancing and charging that Liam is getting from Selesky, we could see definitely one of those big unit of orcs start to come in and start to decimate one side of the table, which would be catastrophic for Aron and his Goths. Right, so it's basically still a lot of movement. What we're going to see here in this game is a lot of movement is going to be key to the victory here. Liam on the right hand side now is starting to span out a bit. He knows he's edging as far forward as he can to those orcs. So it's a good chance that we start to see a little bit of combat here, because we can't just sit here the whole time. One player will need to commit, and it looks like it's going to be Liam. All right, so looking on the right hand side where Aron just is there, he's having a bit of a pre-measure there of the distance between the two units, but we know that Liam still has a movement up his sleeves there. He has another advance ready to go, and then he can charge after that. So this turn two, Liam is going to get one of those big units, one of those big possess bomb units into some orc boys. All right, on the left-hand side there, just below that ruin, you can see Liam's hands are just in the shot there. What they're actually doing is 10 of the cultists are arriving from reserve there. So committing a few little resources here, obviously trying to get rid of that line breaker stuff and have some OBSEC move onto that objective so that he can rack up some primary points. All right, so moving into the psychic phase here for Liam. He has just rolled for warp time. That has gone off. So we're just trying to get a bit of a measurement here, whether or not we can get some deniers happening, which we cannot, so that goes off. Poor Liam, so a bit of a big call there. So here comes the warp time. Those possessors moving up right into the faintest of those orcs. Something of note here that Aron does have a pain boy in there, so those damage two orcs are going to be those damage two possessed are going to be whittling through them pretty easily. The pain boy is not really going to help them there with that damage two coming in. All right. So on the right hand side where you can see those possessed just above that ruin there, they are coming into a unit of orcs. Liam is hoping to get them into two separate units. So there is one unit straight ahead on that objective there. Then to the right, you can see they're slightly different color there. Just the ones that are off the objective, not in the movement tray, not on the objective at all. That is the second unit there on the right. So Liam's plan here is to get a pretty big charge off so that he can tag the one on the right and the one straight ahead of him. Obviously, the one is he's the minimum distance away that he can be is just over 1 inch away on that front unit. And then to the right hand side, if he can get in there and tag both those units, we're going to start to see a lot of damage coming through to those orcs. So just to recap on the psychic phase there, Liam used a bit of Zent's trickery there, and he was able to get all of the powers off in his army. Oh, there we go. We're starting to get in sync here, Falcon. I just got to it just before you hit me up for it. So yeah, he's got all the powers off now. He used some Zench magic here, and he now has every single power off for his army. So we are looking at the Possess Bomb in its full glory. Its full Chaos Tate power is about to be unleashed onto these orcs. So what do we think, Chow? How many orcs do you think this Possess unit's going to chew through here? We are continuing the charge phase. Well, we're starting the charge phase, sorry. So on the bottom left-hand side, that coldest unit is tagging into those Storm Boys and those boys. It looks like they really only need to get rid of that Storm Boy. If they can get rid of that Storm Boy, then Aron will need to commit some more resources to that line breaker points. Only finishing the game on 4 will not be enough. So it'll be interesting to see how Aron goes about getting some stuff down in there. He does have some more Storm Boys in reserve, I do believe. I'll double check them in a sec. I'm pretty certain. So there is a good chance he can get them. But whether or not he can get them into the deployment zone is a big trick. All right, updating from these boys here. And Aron is spending some CPs on some Overwatch. So he's saying just for fun, but we know it's a large ditch effort to stop these possessed from getting into his line. He is terrified. His knees are shaking under the table. So we will see what happens here. Very interesting to get some Overwatch going. We're seeing an app on the right-hand side there. So obviously this unit has way too many dice to be able to roll here. So every possessed destroyed is quite the blow, actually. Liam is doing some celebrations here, so it does not look like any of the possessed have gone down. So Lanesh has granted them some greatness, and in they go. So we have got quite a big charge here. It looks like he is able to tag both of those units. Aron will not be dictating the combat anymore. It looks like the possessed have got control of that 100%. And now the game will continue to be played on Liam's turn. So that was not turn 1 there. Lamello, he did not get him in there. So this is turn 2. This is actually going into turn 2 there. So he had a unit come on from reserve, and he had some Storm Boys that just did the old Barry Bolt. They just ran as fast as they could down the flank there to get there and as early as possible. The squad definitely could wipe the squad here with both with good rolls here. And we know Liam is renowned for hot dice. So he's going up to 2 damage from each possessed. Just trying to get some information here out of Liam on what he's doing strats wise. All right, so he's gone 6 onto the right hand side unit and then 8 onto the left hand unit there, looking at the screen, splitting those attacks up between orcs, trying to make the most of his efficiency on those dice. Right. So this is where we see the power of this possessed list, not in the shooting phase, but in combat here. So on the right-hand side, we have 35 attacks, I believe Liam said, and on the left-hand side, we have 40 attacks, splitting them off. That is a lot of 2 damage attacks coming to these orcs. It'll be very interesting to see how many of these boys are left, if any, are able to survive this onslaught from this possessed bomb. Remembering this is only one possessed bomb of the 3 that is in this absolutely rude list. Unit. All right, so as you can see on the right-hand side there, that squad does not benefit from the Pain Boys Feel No Pain buff, and we are seeing that whole unit, 30 boys, just being picked up and taken from the table from half a possessed bomb. All right, so yeah, big damage there coming from that possession on the right-hand side there. Liam now rolling for that second side. This is where the bulk of the attacks have been possession, so it's very likely that this is a second unit. I would have to double check, but I think these guys are actually inside the Feel No Pain bubble. So maybe that can help and keep a few alive, but it is bad days for these big units of orcs. All right. So these are the saves coming in, and it is not looking good for Aron Green again, unfortunately. That second unit is being picked up. We now have 60 boys removed from the table on turn 2. Liam definitely does not know any chill. That is for sure. So beware, people. If you see some possessed on the table, if you come across the table, you find 60 possessed on the other side of the table, you are in for a rough time. Now that we know what just these 20 possessed are able to do. So they had advanced up, consolidated in, and tagged that objective. Looking here, it looks like Aron does have some Storm Boys on the other side of that objective. So that still will be held by Aron due to number of models. Lord of Excess is definitely pleased there. He/Lee is absolutely loving what has just happened. Okay, so a bit of a recap there of what's happened in that turn. So in the bottom left-hand side of the table, where we saw some orcs that were racking up those line breaker points, they are completely gone. They're removed from the table. Aron no longer has anything in the deployment zone of Liam there. On the right-hand side, those possessed have come up and they have tagged 2 separate units. They have split their attacks. We had 6 going into one side. We had 8 going into one side. And from that alone, splitting their attacks, they were both units of orcs are completely gone. 30 orcs on the left, 30 orcs on the right. The ones on the left benefiting from the feel no pain from the pain boy was not enough to stop half a unit of possessed from absolutely destroying them. All right, so I'm just going to do a couple of score updates while Aron starts to do his movements. We're seeing a bit of retaliation here. So Aron now knows that he is going to have to get the damage on. Gazgul is going to have to get that big claw dirty and get inside and start causing a lot of damage onto these possessed. Right, so we've just had a bit of a score update there coming into the start of turn 3 for Aron Green. He is currently sitting on 15 for the primary. He is on 5 for raised banners, and he has got 4 for linebreaker, which we know is starting to become a little bit of a stretch there. So he is sitting on a total of 24 points. Liam Hackett, who is yet to have his turn 3, he is sitting on 10 for the primary. He is sitting on 2 for raise the banners and 0 for while we stand we fight. But things are looking good in that regard, as those possessed units are still 20 men strong, having dealt with 60 of those orcs. So currently, Aron Green is sitting on 24. Liam Hackett is sitting on 12. That's it. All right. So we know that banners is obviously going to be something that that Aron is going to have to hold on to that now. With line bracket being a bit of an issue, we know that he's going to have to continue to hold all 3 of those objectives to make sure he maxes primary and make sure that he raises all of those banners. That will definitely be the key here to Aron and his Goths getting victory. Assassinate. It's a rough one. Getting inside those possessed bombs now. Maybe Gaz can do it. Maybe Gaz is the man to be able to get inside and rustle up some of those characters and sorcerers that these boys have here. All right, so we've just had a bit of an update here from the boys. Scores were a little bit incorrect here, which I will go in and update right now as we go. The boys forgot that Aron had some units behind those storm boys there on that terrain, behind that terrain piece there. So bear with me. I will just update those and I will give you the updated scores. Okay, they've been updated. So coming through onto your screen, you can see now Aron Green has actually scored 20 on the primaries there because he has had 3 units sitting on the top objectives throughout this whole game. Liam was trying to tag it like he did there. You can see on the right-hand side there is 1 possessed model just sitting very, very much on the edge there, but behind him with a storm boy. So the boys misplaced that, didn't realize the storm boys were behind there, and Aron has actually scored 10. So it actually gives him also another razor banner. So we are seeing 30 to 12 in favor of Aron currently, with Liam going into his turn 2 right now. So we are in the psyche phase for the Orcs in turn 2. Just overhearing the boys say that Aron has cast some powers, but when that has happened, he has caused a perils. Liam is using a stratagem to make Aron actually double perils, I believe. So he's doing double immortal wounds there. I'll just touch base with Liam and double check on that. Yeah, so pretty good little pick up there by Liam. He's actually made him double peril, so double the amount of wounds there. So poor Aron's pain boy's done a lot of damage there. They're doing a little bit of discussion. Obviously, it was an unknown rule here, bit of a surprise there. Aron is actually going back to spend the CP to re-roll that, so the pain boy will remain on the table. Had they not done that, then that pain boy would have been completely removed from the table. Rough times, definitely. Seeing as how we've seen how easily the possessed are able to just pick up all of these orcs. All right, so we're just going back a couple of steps. Liam has been the actual ultimate gentleman here. He is allowing Aaron's forgotten about his orc boys, and Liam's very kindly allowed him just to come back and cruise them onto the table here. So that's the type of play that we like to see. Hats off to Liam, being a true gentleman here. Aron has decided that those orc boys are going to come onto the. He's got some on the left-hand side of that ruin. There are 5 boys now positioned there. They have come on from reserve, I do believe. And then on the left-hand side, he's also bolstered the flanks there. So I have 5 more boys have come in there and sat on that objective, continuing to raise the banners as high as they can for Gork and Mork. Okay, so we seem to be skipping all the shooting phase. Aron's not too phased about the shooting. He don't care about it. He was keen on Overwatch, but he doesn't really care about shooting in the shooting phase. He's coming in with a bunch of charges now. So we're going to see how much damage back these possessed will be taking. So that is the first unit there coming from the ruins. Looks like a bunch of Storm Boys have come in. No, they may be knobs, actually. It looks like a unit of knobs, yes. He's got a unit of knobs that have come in, and they have tagged the possessed on the right-hand side. Now we're having a bit of discussion here whether or not these orcs should come in. So I think one of the few remaining orcs, unfortunately for Aron, one of the mobs coming in. Gazgol, no doubt, he's going to come in and tag those units there. It looks like he's already made base there. So it could be quite the trade-off. A lot of the guys in the chat obviously pointed out it's a bit of a cat and mouse. Neither one wanted to commit early. Neither one wanted to be the one to make that first sort of overreach and have the charge phase dictated by the other player, which unfortunately for Aron, Liam has a bit of a better charge rate, and he has the buffs from Celestia with the advance and charge, and he has the warp time. He has the ability to dictate those charges a lot easier. So he was able to pick up onto a flank and position half of his boys, which is all he needed to remove 2 full units of orcs on the right. All right, so we've got the full commitment here from Aron Green. All those boys are coming in. He's getting as many as he can in. Obviously, getting rid of this possessed unit is definitely something he needs to do, but he needs to be a bit careful here because he's obviously starting to stretch out his army. We can see the left-hand side there. He has still got a fair few. He's got a big 30-man boys unit there. He's got a couple of smaller units there that he has bolstered with reinforcements, but he is starting to now split his army. So obviously, the possessed units are quite more dangerous on the charge. So no doubt these will not be as quite powerful as they were previously, but they still definitely could make mincemeat of this one unit of boys. So, and even if Aron is able to get through and even if he is to completely destroy that possessed unit, which is very unlikely, we do have 2 catapults sitting in those slingshots ready to go, ready to be slung across the table by Liam to completely eradicate the rest of those boys. So which unit fights first here is going to be quite critical. It looks like Aron has chosen with the efficient more quality attacks over the quantity units. So he's gone with the knobs first. He's trying to get through as many of these 2 wound models as he can, rather than relying the bulk of attacks of those strength 5 boys, because Liam is no doubt going to interrupt. He's not going to let Aron put Gaz, knobs, and that big unit of boys all into his unit of possessed without getting a chance to fight in the middle there. So he is definitely going to want to get in and have his turn to please Slanesh. Right, so we are starting to see some saves played here. Obviously, some feel no pain coming through here for Liam. He's taking them 3 at a time. All right, so we have a possessed. It is actually gone. It seems to be that Liam is making some atrocious saves. It seems like he is definitely just pulling them out of his backside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 8 units, 8 possessed, it looks like, was taken away from there. Aron can't be too unhappy there. Those knobs have definitely done some good work and whittled down a lot of them. Liam will now be spending 2 CP to interrupt, making sure that he can get some units, some damage out of them. Interesting to see where he goes, whether or not he goes into Gaz trying to do some damage, or he goes with whittling down some of those boys to see if he does not get any of those attacks back. Yeah, so Liam has chosen there to pile in and put as many of his attacks into those boys as possible, as to dwindle down those numbers to make sure that when they're coming back into him, he can keep as many of those possessed alive as possible. Just while we're at that, shout out to the Falcon, who is typing like a madman to make sure that the commentators, Adam and Paul Murphy, are getting all this information. Shout out to you, Falcon. You are doing good work. Will be interesting to see where Aron starts to pull model, whether or not he pulls models from the front here to try and get himself out of combat, or whether he just starts taking them from the back, which is obviously the smarter choice, so that he can remain in combat and trying to whittle down as many of these possessed as possible. So, what are people thinking? Is this the first time you've seen this possessed list in action, doing its heinous stuff that it does? What are our thoughts on it? Are we loving the possessed? Obviously, it's tooled to do a lot of damage to Space Marine. Liam had taken it down to the Masters and the Open down in Adelaide the previous weekend. If you haven't seen those games, jump on the Art of War YouTube and have a look at those. Have a look at those games. He is on the top table for the majority of the time. He only lost 1 game, pretty much maxed out VPs the entire tournament. As you can see with this list, it deals a lot of damage and has a lot of great board control. Secondaries, raise the banners while we stand, we raise the banners while we stand, we fight. They're all very critical to his regular gameplay. Line break is going to be difficult here for him. He is currently unable to get into the back there. He does have 2 units of cultists currently able to outflank and possibly on the right hand side get in there, but there are still Storm Boys in that ruined building on the top right. Just a modest 21 attacks coming out of the remainder of those that remainder of the possess unit there. Trying to drill down as many of these orcs. And here we go. The body count is tolling up. We have 5, we have 10, we have 15, 16, 17, 18 orcs. So less than half of the possessed remain. We only have 8 possessed remaining in that unit, I believe, attacking. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 or 8, but they were still able to take care of 18 orcs. They put out a lot of damage. So going on from here, it'll be interesting to see whether if Gaz and these Orc boys are able to kill the remainder of those possessed, and if they do, what Liam retaliates with, whether or not he decides to slingshot another 20 possession in there. Obviously, Gaz will be able to hold them up. Might be good to see Gaz be held up where he is, because obviously he's giving a few buffs to the units there. This is a bit of a last shift effort from Aron to try and keep him at bay. All right, so it looks like Gaz has made his attack, and I think Gaz has killed 3 of the possessed. Yeah, Gaz has removed 3. Those were the ones that were sitting just below the ruin on the right-hand side there, near those dice sitting on top of the ruin. So he's doing a bit of lifting himself. All right. Aron's dished the movement trays. He's getting serious. It's time now. He doesn't care about coherence anymore. He's getting as many dudes into that inch by inch as he can, trying to get them tagged into those possess. Right. So that orcs are the orc boys are the remaining unit here. So we have 44 attacks coming in, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s. We have some feel no pain here from Liam as well. So there are some defensive buffs as well with these possess. Obviously, there needs to be to keep them alive, because you need to be able to keep these units alive to be able to win your games. Right. So those. All right. So from those 44 attacks, we have lost 3 possessed. So they remain. They sit there in combat with Gaz and all those boys. So now they're completely tied up there. All right. So Aron is not happy with the amount of possessed that he has killed there. He's got a strat going out there, so he's going to fight again with these boys. So he will be putting another 44 attack into. No, it seems like he's chosen to do it with the knobs. So the knobs are the ones that are coming in. They are coming in. They're going to be wrapping as many of those possessed as they can, trying to get them to not leave combat if they choose so. Right, so those knobs are coming in now. Dan Savage has turned up here, and he's just politely pointed out there are not much orcs left on the table. Expert commentary, expert opinion there from Dan Savage. That is why he's one of the best players in Oz, people. All right, so great work there by Aron Green. He's got those strats in his back pocket, and he's using them to effect. So they are Gonskis. That one unit of possessed is completely gone. So that unit is now completely wiped. All right, so that's actually great news for Aaron there. So that's freed him up on the start of his turn. So this is the start of turn 3. Aaron now has some options there, which before that strat was used, it was looking like he was only having the units on the left-hand side, that one unit of boys and a couple of one 30-man unit and a couple of 5-man units on the left-hand side that he could move and perform actions with. All right, so boys are just bringing me some scores updates as we go into the start of turn 3, and I will get them to you as soon as I can. All right, so we're going to top of turn 3 here, which is Liam's turn. Looking at the score updates here, we have Liam Hackett sitting on 20 for primary. Aaron Green also sitting on 20 for primary. So Aaron, has been able to go toe-to-toe, continuing here. He is doing everything he can. Like we saw in his game against Eric, he has a few tricks up his sleeve, old Aaron. He knows how to play this game very well, and he's showing that even when he's got it a bit under the pump, he is able to score points and get himself in a position to win these games. So secondary-wise, Aaron Green is sitting on 6 for Raise the Banners. And thanks to that little janky little first turn, second turn play, he's able to get 4 for Linebreaker. Liam Hackett is sitting on 4 for Raised Banners. While we stand, we fight. He has now lost one of those possessed units, so he is now down to a maximum of 10 points for While We Stand, We Fight, and he is currently unable to get any of his units into the backfield. But being turn 3 here, he does have some cultists sitting around in his pocket ready to unleash possibly into that black deployment zone, where we will see how we go. So Aaron Green is sitting on 40 to Liam Hackett's 34 with a 6-point swing in the favor of Aaron. Yes, Dark Shinru, 24 to 30. I've actually included the battle ready. Both of these boys have painted armies, so they're getting a bonus from 10, which is not seen on our scoreboard. So we will see a bit of discrepancy there. All right, so those cultists are starting to come from out of the darkness. On the right-hand side, they have come and they have sat. Both 10-man units seem to be sitting on the right-hand side of the table there. Might see some tricks there for some linebreaker shenanigans, because that is the points that Liam really needs to try and get a move on for. So the movement is completely finished there. We're seeing some possessed move up again in the right-hand side and take the place of the ones that Aron was able to remove. So Aron's obviously going to have a bit of a hard time there removing them, knowing the resources and strategies he put into them previously. So some good news though for Aron and some bad news for Liam during the psychic phase. Liam whiffed a lot of his powers. So the only powers he was able to get off was one, Solitary Smite, and Feel No Pain onto the Possess unit. So they do have some durability there, which is good for them. But not quite the psychic phase that Liam had hoped for, knowing that a lot of these buffs come from that. All right, so I've moved into the charge phase here for Liam. That unit of Possessed on the right-hand side, they will be charging into Gaz. They will be charging into the boys, and they will be charging into the knobs. So 3 units here. They're going to be trying to do a lot of work getting through and trying to crunch through them. Interesting to see how much damage they do here. Obviously, they're only going to be able to do the max number of wounds that they can do to Gaz, which is 4 per phase. So they're going to have a bit of trouble actually removing Gaz, but they are not too worried. They're happy just to sit there in combat with Gaz for the remainder of the game, because by the time they are done, they will also be sitting on that objective. Those knobs, they are very likely, they have been dwindled down. There is only 2 men left there. They're very likely that they will be removed as well as those boys on the left-hand side. I guess the only real issue here for Liam is actually deciding which attacks will go where. He's going to want to make sure that he does get the maximum 4 wounds onto Gaz. He's going to want to make sure that he actually destroys both units on of those orcs, the knobs on the right-hand side and the boys on the left, because he will want to be able to get some of those possessed onto that objective, because there are not too many Storm Boys currently sitting on it at the back. If I stand up and have a bit of a look, it looks like standing on the objective alone, it is only 1 to 2 Storm Boys. So we could actually find Liam getting enough possessed onto that back right objective to be able to take that from him and pull the banner down. Right, so those cultists on the right-hand side of the table, they have actually been positioned so that if the possessed are still tied up in combat and unable to consolidate onto that objective, those possessed, sorry, the cultists are actually there trying to take the objective away. So that is the plan that he has with them. He was unable to get both units wholly within the deployment zone, I believe. It looks like from when I've asked him. So I do not think that Liam will be able to get Linebreaker this time. So again, he will sit behind on Linebreaker with Aron. Very, very interesting, very close. Very close game again. Obviously, Aron's skills coming to the fore here, making sure that he goes toe to toe with Liam, the current Australian Master. Right, so combat, no surprise to people. We're seeing piles and piles and piles and piles of orcs. So all those remaining orcs on the left-hand side, the boys have been removed. These are the attacks here that are going into the knobs. Right, so it's looking like 6 wounds have gone into those knobs. But that does not seem to be the end of it. There seems to be a lot more attacks coming in here. Right, so these are also all going into the knobs here. This possess unit is absolute power personified. The amount of attacks, 2 damage attacks that these boys can put out is absolutely crazy. So not only are they able to kill Marines, not only can they get rid of elite units, even Gravis armor type units, Inceptors and Blade Guards and all those different type of things that Marines have, they can chew through orc after orc. They have the numbers, not just the quantity, they also have the quality. All right, so that is the end of the knobs. They have been removed from the table as well. And we can just see those possessors starting to make their way up to that objective to make sure that Aron no longer has that banner or the primary. All right, so the cultists on the back, only one of them was able to make it into a charge there. Liam attempted to charge with both to be able to drag them into Linebreaker, which he was unable to do. So he has a unit of 10 going into those Storm Boys there. So again, just taking away a lot of Aron's movement. So Aron will no longer be able to use those Storm Boys to help them bolster that front objective. He won't be able to try and counter the attack of those possessed Marines anymore. Okay, so Liam going first has removed one of the Storm Boys. So 4 Storm Boys remain to fight back into Liam's possessed. Oh, what do we think of the chat? What do we think of this possessed army? The absolute power of it. The absolute bananas power of it. How it's able to just absolutely completely decimate orcs and control the board. If it does continue, obviously Aron's no slouch, and he proved up against Eric in the previous round that he will be able to fight all the way down to the wire. He'll be able to do everything he can to try and assure this win. We know the GKs have made it through. We know that tomorrow we're going to see Eric Lathuris piloting his GKs. We saw that the ability that he had with those paladins to be able to sit out of line of sight and pick apart units and destroy majority of those orcs at will. How would he fare against either these orcs or these possessed units? What do we think? Who do we think has a better chance up against the GKs? This possessed list or the sheer weight of number of the orc? So the cultists are just rolling that now. That's what they're going to see here. Pretty certain I heard they said they had Cold Earth. Oh no, so that was a possessed. So that's obviously must be Gaz coming in. Gaz making some returns here. So 8 of those cultists died. So the Stormboys were able to come in and do a fair bit of damage. Didn't quite get them all down, but they were close. All right, so that is the end of Liam's turn. Turn 3, we are going into turn 4 now. So there are 12 possessed left in that bomb on the top there. We still have 20 strong on the left. So Aron did quite well to get rid of 8. Oh, sorry. It was 8 cultists and 3 possessed. So we still have 17 possessed sitting in that blob. Man. All right, so I'll get a score update for everyone. All right, so a bit of an update here for scores. I have started to include the While We Stand We Fight, and we'll update them live as we lose them. So starting here, Aaron Green, who got turn one, he is currently sitting on 25 for the primary, having started right now his turn four. Raise the Banners, he is on 8. Assassinate, he is on 0. And Linebreaker, he is on 4. Including his battle ready points, he is sitting on 47, up against Liam Hackett, who is yet to have his turn 4. He is sitting on 20 for the primary, 4 for Raised Banners, 10 for While We Stand We Fight, and 0 for Linebreaker, bringing him into a total of 44 points. Seeing Aaron just slightly keep his nose ahead. He's doing everything he can. He's doing very well to maintain a 47 to 44 point lead. All right, so pretty key information here that on the top left-hand side, that big unit of boys, we have bull charge going off on them so that they cannot have any negative effects on their charge. They will always be getting a minimum of 7, I do believe. That is the only psychic powers that Aaron got off. He has moved on to the shooting phase now. He was tossing and turning whether or not he makes some shooting in combat with Gaz there. He has chosen not to, as one of those possessed there was only on 1 wound. He may get some bad repercussions there. So here we go with a charge. So that big left-hand unit of boys have made their charge. They'll be coming into the possessed. Right, so looking ahead on the secondaries here on what we have. So raise the banners. It is more than likely that Aaron could finish with the 2 on the left-hand side. Having said that, Liam is more than able to send that unit of possessed up there. Has the green tide been used at Jimmy the Terrible? No, the green tide has not been used yet. Every time that Liam has got in combat, basically that unit has been completely wiped. Right, so Aaron now focusing on getting rid of those cultists on the right-hand side, making sure that Liam doesn't get that secondary, that line breaker. So that has been taken out of play there for Liam. Liam will finish on 0 for line breaker. Great play there by Aaron, and great play to be able to get in there and get it early, get some points in early, because it'll be very unlikely that he is able to get it as well. So it's looking like a 4-point lead there on that secondary in favour of Aaron Green. And so continuing to have a bit of a look at those secondaries, the Razor banners there. I don't think that there's much that Aaron can do to get down into the bottom half of the table and take any of those banners from Liam there. So it looks like he will continue to rack up all those banner points right until the end of the game. while we stand, we fight. The bottom, obviously, the bottom unit of possess, still 20 men strong. Definitely guaranteed 5 points there. That one that's getting attacked by the boys now, 17 strong. That is also looking likely that it's going to remain alive at least. If it does get whittled down, Liam should be able to backtrack a little bit and swap over with that other possess unit, do a bit of a switcheroo, and able to keep those alive. So I'd say he's going to get 10 there for while we stand. Assassinate for Aron, obviously. Bit of a hard choice there. You can see that Liam likes to keep his characters away at the end of the tendrils, not actually in the combat at all. He likes to keep them in the center with the possessed sprawling out from there, making sure that they cannot get into combat at all. More of a last ditch effort if those guys are being used in combat than for Liam there. So he's easily able to use the auras, use the buff, use all the powers that they need to on all those possessed without getting their hands dirty like a dirty trader. Right, so going into this combat phase here, Aron is choosing to use these boys first to make sure he gets those bulk attacks in and trying to wipe out as many of those knobs he can. Otherwise, there's a good chance Liam starts pulling them away from where they are, and he will not get as many attacks in as he can. All right, Tim C just joined in. Sorry, is Gav still alive? Yeah, mate, center of the table there. You see that big square of rust, that big fan, exhaust fan there in the center of the table. Just to the right of that, the big base there, that is Gaz himself. He is the linchpin. He is holding it together for the Orcs, doing everything he can. He is one of the very few models left for Aron. These possessed units have just been absolutely chewing through these Orc boys like they are nothing. We saw a unit of 20 go in. He had a unit of that unit, 6 on one side, right on the right. He had 8 on the left-hand side, tagged 2 different separate boy units, and both of them got removed. So 6 boys. So 6 of these possessed alone have been enough to kill 30 boys. Dangerous stuff. All right, so the Storm Boys on the top right-hand side are going into these cultists here. It looks like majority of them have been removed. 9 of them have been removed. So that is a nice little cleanup by Liam there. They were the only chances that he has to get Linebreaker. So if he was able to hold that unit there and then slingshot one of the possessed in, that would have been one of the key things to make him get Linebreaker. That's completely stopped that. Yeah, he definitely blends in a little bit, mate. He's got the same sort of grey basing going on there. So those boys, when they came in charge and they come in mad. They've got all their buffs on them. They were only able to get rid of 3 of those possessed. So Aron is quite the hard time trying to make amends of these possessed here. Jimmy the Terrible in the chat there. Any reason why Liam didn't pick up in their ranks with the ability to wipe unit to 30 boys? I would have thought it would be an auto take, mate. Very good call there. Looking at the game and how it has played out, obviously, yes, it should have been a pick, definitely over probably Linebreaker. That's a bad choice there. We'll have Liam on afterwards. He'll be able to jump in and have a chat, and you'll be able to ask him and both Aron any of the questions that you would like. Can't speak for him personally myself, but I do know that these boys would have wanted to play a bit of a cagey tactical game. So whether or not Liam thought he was going to have enough turns to be able to punch through Liam, punch through Aron's orcs and actually do as much damage as he did. That could be why he didn't grind them down. Yep. All right, so we have seen Gaz fight on death. He's killed three more possessed, so he's slowly dwindling the numbers down. But as you can see now, he no longer blends in with that mat. He has been picked up. So over the 3 turns of combat, those possessed have been able to not only kill boy after boy after boy, they've actually taken out the big dog himself. They have removed Gaz from the table completely there. Devastating, devastating news there for Aron. This possessed list, it is absolutely brutal. So we are seeing more destruction here from these possessed. They are on a non-stop roll. Every single one of those boys look to be picking up. We have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. There we go. That is the 30 boys gone. I do believe there could just be one left on the right-hand side of the table. There's a little bit more rolling going on as we speak, but it could be a case of those boys all completely dead. Right. So yeah, from that combat, we have one boy left. So obviously these possess are not to be messed with. It's going to be very hard for Aron to be able to dwindle that remaining unit down, let alone the 2 there. So the Wild Stanley fight, it is looking very likely that Liam Hackett will finish there on 10 points. I will just do a score update as we go into the start of Liam's turn 4. All right, so we are going into the turn 4 for Liam Hackett and this possess unit, and he currently cannot be stopped. Score-wise, going into Liam's turn 4, obviously Aron Green has gone first. You know that. You've been following along at home. Aron Green, 25 for primary. Up against Liam Hackett's 30. Liam Hackett is slowly starting to nudge ahead on that primary score. Raise the banners. He is on 7. While we stand, we are on 10. Total BP, including the painted rally battle score, he is on 57. 10 points clear now of Aron Green on 47. Obviously, we haven't seen any of these players yet get a 15-point primary, but thanks to the new FAQ, it is very likely that Liam will just stroll on to some of these primaries late game and be able to get himself a 15-point VP. So I'll just touch in with the boys, find out how those psychic powers went in this phase, because we know Liam would definitely be looking for a big turnaround after only getting one of his powers off last time. All right. As far as psychic powers go, all Liam bothered to do there was get a couple of smites off, whittle these numbers down. So the boys are just having a bit of a chat here, see what's left, what they can and cannot do. Um, Obviously, assassinate is something that Aaron Green has no points on. He's looking at what he can do to be able to get into some positions to be able to kill some of those characters. But Liam does have them quite protected by a bunch of these different possess units. So this is actually coming into the start of turn 5. This game is going fast. It's coming over. It's coming over pretty end. Aaron has told me that he's going into a bit of a silly play, but majority of it, it looks like he's just trying to clean up some of those characters to get as many of those assassinate points that he can. The boys are filling out a bit of scores for me, so I will be able to get you those primaries that Aaron was able to be on. But it looks like he only was sitting on the one on the left-hand side. If that is the case, he will get a 0 for primary going into turn 5. As soon as I can, I will update for you. All right, so for primary wise for Aaron, he is able to, on the left-hand side, he has a unit of boys sitting there. They've been there since turn 2, and he has got them there still. On the middle objective there, he has one pain boy. So he was able to hold 2 objectives and continue scoring at least some primary points. He was able to get another 5 points to continue along. He's gone for as many assassinate sort of characters as he can, a few little solid plays. As soon as that's finished up, they're getting some scores in here for me. We can't see any of those characters moved. Obviously, Selesky on the right-hand side, she's had a dice placed next to her. So she's been made a few little wounds on her, I think. That is not Selesky. Actually, I'll get back to you on that one. I'll have a chat to the boys and see what's going on. All right, so it looks like the boys are pretty much just adding these points up to see where we're at. I do not like the chances of Aaron getting the win here, but we've seen what this possessed bomb can do. So both these boys are going to have to go and get some Gatorades in them. It's been a sweaty game. It's been rough. It's been hard hitting. They're packing them up though. So we know now. The first game we had Eric Lathoris with his GKs, and he was able to get a win up against Aaron Green and the Orc list that had been written by Liam Hackett. Both boys are getting some scores into me here. It looks to me like we are going to see Liam Hackett as the victor take up against Eric Lathoris and his GKs. There's not much here that Aaron can do. That's why these boys have decided they're just going to get these scores going together. I will update them right now so that we can get some updates. All right. So that is looking like our final score. Yes, that is it. That is our final score. The boys have come together. They've had a bit of a gentleman's agreement. They've talked out the last turn as it was pretty much all done and dusted. Points wise, Aaron Green, the pride of the Yorks. He's done everything he could. Give me the terrible. Yes, rough day for Aaron. We'll have Aaron on. He can have a bit of a chat to you boys. And yeah, rough day for Aaron. Primary wise, he finished on 30. Raised the banners on 10. Assassinated's on 3. Line breaker on 4. Up against Liam Hackett, the reigning Australian champion. He is on 45 for primary. He's on 15 for raised banners, 10 for while we stand, and 8 for line breaker for 88. So it is quite the impressive win. 31 points there, if my maths are correct, in favour of Liam Hackett. So tomorrow we will be seeing Denise play this possess list, which is quite good because Denise has been playing this a fair bit, I do believe, on TTS. I think I've heard him saying that on the normal bloke, so he knows what's going on. He'll obviously be crunching the numbers with Liam tonight to see how we're going up against Eric Lathoris and these GKs. So I'll see what we can do. I'll get Liam on for a bit of a chat with everyone if you just hold on here before we end the stream. Hey, fair enough. Hey everyone, Liam here. What is going on? Cheers, Tim. No, thanks for that. Bit of a hard game for Aaron from the get-go, that one, just because the Orcs are pretty good at mulching through everything. But when you have as many wounds of Space Marines as you have wounds of Orc boys, it's the maths is not in his favour. And him going first was obviously a pretty big blow as well. He was the one who sort of had to poke his neck out first because I could just wait. He ended up committing, which you obviously never want to do. But what other choice do you have, right? There's not really anything else you can do. How to survive the smite spam? Well, man, it's 120 wounds of Marines. So unless you can do 40 plus mortal wounds a turn, it's not really it's not really going to make that much of a dent. And with the 5-up feel no pain, it obviously makes you a lot more resilient to the smite spam. Against GKs, it's obviously pretty horrific because all the smites are 4 mortal wounds. Jimmy, yeah, Grey Knights. Grey Knights suck for this army because everything's got the demon keyword. So when you go to whatever tide makes their smites 4 damage, it becomes pretty horrific because you can have an army pumping out actually 40 mortal wounds a turn with like 10 smites, and the Vortex of Doom and the other mortal wound powers for GKs, and that's on top of the shooting. That's all a really good profile. 24 or 30-inch range, out of line of sight, 2 damage, flat guns. So GK is pretty horrific. Other than GKs, I'm reasonably confident if you have your head screwed on, you can play this army against almost anything, provided you're playing on reasonable terrain, which we should be expecting from most tournaments. You can play against a shooting army without much stress. It's just too fast, it's too durable, and it hits too hard to really be worried by shooting armies. In my experience, I mean, I played this at the Uprising Adelaide event just before this, and at that event, I versed quite a few shooting armies, including a list with 16, I think, plasma inceptors and 18 blade guard or whatever it happened to be, and that list didn't bother me very much at all. Yeah, so it's pretty boring to play, to be perfectly honest. All it does is cast spells and hit you to death. It's not exactly the most creative thing ever. Jimmy, I also noticed that you mentioned about thin their ranks versus what I did take. So obviously, thin their ranks shares a slot with while we stand, and in an in kind of like an ideal world, I guess if Aaron plays 2 kg, I can just keep the 60 possessed back in my deployment and get an automatic 15 points. If he commits, I sacrifice a unit of the possessed, which is exactly what happens. So I only get 10, but I end up taking the primary off him, which is overall more of a net gain. So by taking While We Stand, I kind of hedge my bets. If I take Thin Their Ranks, I have to kill him to get points. And that's why I tend not to take Thin Their Ranks against an army like Aron's. Hope that makes sense. Yeah. Denith will be playing this army tomorrow. Best of luck to him. I've given him the rundown. Just cast spells and run at your opponent. It's going to be biblical. All right, guys. You have a good one. All right. Thank you, everybody in the stream, for having us. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Make sure you come in and we see Eric Lathuris and his GKs up against Denith piloting the Liam Hackett written Possessed. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the chat. You've been great. Catch you all later.